Hey, we're live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 149, which we call Wanna Cry, because I think a lot of people want to cry after getting infected with ransomware last week on Friday. So,
conveniently called Wanna Cry.
Wanna Cry or W Cry or something like this. Leaked, this may be fake news or alternative fact, leaked by the NSA.
Yeah.
Well, you had a simple story to go on ahead of time.
I did. I had some good news, or maybe not good news, depending on how you look at this. But officially, according to the person who mandates congressional software, Signal has been blessed, and I believe the Senate can now freely use Signal. U.S. Senate staff can now use Signal. There's a title for that person, but I forget what it is. ZDNet wrote a little story about how someone finally approved it, and they called it the best end-to-end or the best encrypted secure messenger available. So that's pretty high praise. And now, unless we hopefully secrets don't fall into the wrong hands, because people will be using more secure messengers.
So do they have a BlackBerry app? Do they have a BlackBerry app? Or
no?
So we finally moved off the BlackBerry.
I'm pretty sure it's just iOS, Android, and Chrome apps right now.
So, and as I told you before, I mean, it took this long to get there, but Confide was just magically available.
Well, this isn't just senators saying, "Oh, we're going to use Signal now because we think it's neato," like it was with Confide, right? With Confide, it was a bunch of people in the White House saying, "Oh, this looks secure. We're going to use this thing."
It has military-grade encryption on it.
This has got actual approval through the proper channels. If a senator fires off a bunch of senatorial emails like, "Give me a bunch of money and I'll build an oil pipeline," or something like that, they can do so over Signal. And that kind of speech through that kind of app is completely by the books, by the rules, official. They're not going against any sort of charter at all. So it's a good thing. Getting more people onto this system is great. But there's kind of a flip side to this article. Someone on Hacker News said, well, I don't really want the U.S. Senate using Signal, right? I want them to basically, all their emails to become tweets and to be 100% public for everything, except the stuff that's obviously classified. And I get where they're coming from. With Signal, there's, unless you turn on auditing and you actually try to back up your communications to comply with Freedom of Information Act requests, it doesn't lend itself to archival very well. So is this a good fit for the Senate? It's definitely secure, but do we want them to be off the record that much?
I mean, I probably look at it this way. If they were trying to be secret before, the bad guys already had it. Exactly. And if they were trying to be transparent, they were already transparent. So this is just keeping it there. Now, hopefully, the FBI and the NSA and the three-letter agencies don't go after Signal because they know that the congressional staffers are using it.
On the other hand, I kind of hope they do, and I kind of hope they get caught doing it, and someone leaks a bunch of their malware on the internet, specifically targeting Signal. So Signal can turn around and build a patch for their application and put it out to the public, and then people ignore it for 2 months, and then they get bit by really nasty ransomware, and then they cry on the internet about it. Wait,
that's the top. Yeah.
Hold on a minute. That's basically what happened with this WannaCry ransomware. There was an Nsa Exploit that got leaked a couple months back. Microsoft put out a patch. They said, "Oh yeah, this thing's public. It's a 0-day. If you're not behind a router, something could absolutely attack this from the internet." A really, really nasty vulnerability, the kind of thing you don't want in any system. The NSA built this. They held it back. They didn't tell Microsoft. They put it in their toolbox. it got leaked, and yeah. So that's what WannaCry is using to spread and propagate, and you've got to be pretty far behind your patch cycle to get hit with this, but it does happen. And it happens a lot to governments, hospitals, and people that can't patch regularly.
Well, so you're right. I mean, if you were on Windows 10, I mean, this was an update put out in March. Now, if you remember, if you keep track of your second Tuesdays of the month, Microsoft did not have a February second Tuesday of the month. There was something that they postponed it. So they were going to do, they sometimes do like the fourth Tuesday or the fourth Thursday. And this time they said, you know what? We have to fix something. We're going to put it out as part of the March update. And this is where it came from. And now we know why it was pushed out. This was the bug that they specifically were talking about. So the problem is, if you work in government, like you said, to update something takes many TPS reports. I need this update. Things just don't get updated. So, I mean, like in our school, we bought new computers with Windows 7. We paid to downgrade it to XP. No, it was the other way. It came with Vista, and we did it to XP. And then 8 and 10 went back down to 7. So right now we're on 7. And we were on XP only till a year ago. The September the following year, but there's still machines in our school running XP because some software, I think the high school sign, that software only runs on XP, or no one decided to do it. On our Macs, we're constantly 1 year behind because basically said somebody has to test it, nobody has time to test it, and then we run into these issues that things weren't updated. So
yeah, this happens all the time. Tons of businesses, and especially places like schools and hospitals and places without a big IT funding push, they're constantly behind the patch schedule. Patching your operating system is a whole lot like vaccinations, right? In the public populace, when it comes to vaccinations, you and I will get vaccinated because our bodies can handle it. We're not allergic to it, and not only do we protect ourselves, we protect the people who can't get vaccinations. Like there's a guy I know who can't get the flu shot because he's got a really compromised immune system. So he relies on the people around him to get the flu shot, so he won't accidentally pick up the bug that they bring home. And it works most of the time. It's called herd immunity, and it's really cool. Same thing kind of happens with computers, right? WannaCry is a virus, and it's viral in every way you can imagine it. And if people are patched up, they're not going to take this thing in, get their files encrypted, and then spread it to all their buddies, right? Because you get this thing, you get a computer infected, you take it inside your network, right? Inside the corporate firewall behind the router. And then it spreads throughout your entire corporate network. Now, if everything else was patched up, but you had a couple boxes that were vulnerable, your risk of getting hit is vastly decreased. Herd immunity is not just a thing for biological organisms; it's also a thing for computer science.
So I mean, we'll come back to this, but so if you got infected, it looked for the SMB drives. Those are the shared drives on your network, and it went directly to those and just started encrypting them.
Yeah. So what this thing did is it went out and it looked for drive letters. Basically, it's a Windows-specific malware. So it looked for C drive, D drive, and it just enumerated. So if you had any kind of map drive, any kind of network share, it would go out and encrypt that stuff. If you had a backup hard drive, it would encrypt that. Basically, any mounted file system, any attached file system would get encrypted.
So if one computer inside the network wasn't patched for this, it would absolutely hose the entire network, or at least the shared drives.
Yep.
And we saw this. That's exactly what's happening, and it boggles my mind that it was. Everyone said update. Now, again, going back to the corporate idea, you can't just hit update. For me to hit update on an Adobe Flash thing that's bouncing up and down, at least on the Macs, I have to go through 7 or 8 different people. And by the way, just FYI, the number of bouncing on a Mac is 75 before it stops.
I'm glad someone counted.
I did not count this. John Syracuse counted this. He did tell me this. But I mean, I watch the kids. It just bounces and bounces. And I go, what does it want? It goes, we can we update it? And I go, oh, I don't have the admin password. So you just have to let it bounce because there's nothing you can do. And when you say it's like, oh, we'll get it in June. Well, the problem is that's a problem, because what are we telling the students? It's okay not to update. And it's sad, because this mentality goes home and says, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and this is what happens. So Microsoft patched this back in March, and look, it is conceivable that you have not restarted your computer since March. You leave it on. So with me, I leave my Chromebook on, because to constantly authenticate against LastPass with my YubiKey means I have to get my YubiKey. I have to find out where it is. I have to plug it in, push the button, and if my keys are not where I'm sitting, I have to get up and do all this. So I try not to log out of these things or try not to shut down. But when an update comes, I have to do it. So people may say, I'll do it tomorrow. And they just sit at their computer and say, oh, I'll do it later, and later never comes.
This is one of the reasons behind Microsoft's huge push, and because they're doing bad things and they're doing good things. I get why they're doing it, but they're doing it in the worst way possible. This is exactly why Windows 10 forces you to update. Unless you're in an enterprise environment and you have group policy set and you're attached to a domain and you've got an admin that tweaks these things, you are going to get updates. You can defer them a little bit, but you are going to get updates. Your computer will randomly reboot at some time during the night and apply those updates. You have no choice in the matter. And one of the reasons is that Microsoft has seen through their metrics that people just keep hitting later. They keep hitting defer. They keep not restarting their machine, even though Windows begs them to. And Windows 10 is just not having any of that. It's not going to put up with your nonsense.
I mean, Firefox started with Chrome was the first with automatic updates, at least.
Yep.
I think I can think of. Firefox eventually followed suit, but they were weird. They would automatically update in the dot release, but not the numerical version. So it took a while, and so I mean, all these so people would think that they're on the latest system update, but they weren't, and unfortunately, that caused a lot of problems. Microsoft does sort of the same. Well, I don't want to say they do sort of the same thing, but Flash does it and everything else. Now people are automatically updating, and it's getting safer. But if you don't apply those patches, like Chrome doesn't just restart. It puts a little arrow in your dock or somewhere that says update to restart. Now, to restart Chrome is not terribly a big deal. It is a little bit inconvenient. You have to open up your tabs, but they're good at bringing it back.
Yeah, Chrome has done auto upgrade right? It doesn't wipe your tabs. It doesn't bug you, except if you leave it alone for a while, you'll get a little notification that says, hey, dude, could you like restart Chrome, please? We've been waiting on this update for like 2 weeks. And it's really nice about it. And there's ways to do auto upgrade right, but I get where the drive comes from, because people don't want to click update. A family member just messaged me today, and they said, hey, I'm reading about this thing and I'm worried. What do I have to do to protect myself? And I said, well, go launch Windows Update from the start menu and hit update. He said, that's it? I said, yeah, and I mean, have good backups, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't run anything shady. Don't click random links in email from some dude you've never heard of before. Don't run invoice.pdf.exe. But the unfortunate thing is you cannot stop ransomware, right? There are some cool antivirus-ish tricks to use to try to catch it early, but it's going to get some files before you catch it. If we were stopping everything using, encryption, everything on your computer would grind to a halt, right? When your computer tried to make an SSL connection or encrypt a document or you name it. So we can't just say all encryption is now banned, right? That A, takes a lot of learning, and B, doesn't really work that way. But the best thing you can do to avoid ransomware or to save yourself the pain of ransomware is to have good backups. And if you back up to a drive, unplug it. Just remove it from your machine, because if your backup files get encrypted on that drive, you're hosed, right? You've just encrypted your own backups. Better yet, sign up for something like CrashPlan or Carbonite or Mosey. There's tons of these services out here, or throw stuff in Google Drive that you really find important, right? Like pictures of your kids and stuff. I know, you and I have got our pictures going to Google Photos because they just do, right? I don't have an issue with Google having the pictures I take because I don't take pictures of stuff that's secret. I take pictures of stupid things. Well, but, no matter what happens, I've still got those.
We've said if you don't want to pay for one of these services, use different services. So Google Music will do all your music. And I actually have the actual CDs lying around in my basement somewhere. So any music I buy online, they're somewhere, wherever they are. Amazon. I try to buy from the same service. So 99% of my music that I've purchased came from Amazon. I still have here and there a little bit, but for the most part, I either have the CD or I know where it came from. That goes up to Google Music, and Amazon has the purchase copies. Then Google Photos takes it. I do backup to Amazon because their photo service is actually better than Google Photos, except it doesn't do the animations, all the cool things that Google does. It backs up there and it can share albums and do all the other stuff. But no one uses it. And then you have Google Drive for your docs or Dropbox or anything else. So if I had to recreate it, I would not be a very happy camper, but I could do it. And like you said, when you back up, I take my little hard drive and I unplug it when I'm not using it, which is always a good idea. You got to remember to plug it in, and maybe every Friday you plug it in, or right before you go home, you back up everything and then you go from there. But at least unplug it every once in a while.
This is why I'm a huge, huge fan of these online backup services. And the good ones will let you put in your own encryption key, right? They're not open source. Yes, the NSA could be tapping your backups, but availability is the big concern here. So I use CrashPlan personally. I like CrashPlan. I've used Carbonite before on family members' computers. It works great. They're both fantastic. But ransomware can't touch it, right? If you get ransomware and all of your documents get encrypted, and then whatever service you're using goes and backs up those files, you email them. And it's a very common thing their support has to deal with. You say, hey, my everything got ransomware. Can you just wipe the most recent backup you took, like before stuff was all encrypted, and I'll download it? And they go, yeah, no problem. And you just pull it down. It's annoying to have to download everything, but it really saves yourself the trouble.
Now, what I don't know, and maybe you can answer this, and I think I'm still hosed, is so I have a FreeNAS box downstairs, and on my Mac, I guess Apple wants CIF shares, but on Windows, I do use SMB. I would have been hosed if, let's say, my wife's laptop got it.
Not necessarily. So do you have ZFS snapshotting enabled?
Oh, I do. You're right.
Yeah, see? So this is why I really wish, and this gets into more general tech and maybe less security, but I wish everything was a copy on write file system with razor thin snapshots, because we could be snapshotting every 30 seconds till the rest of time and no one cares, right? You can roll up the snapshots, you can diff them, you can compress them. ZFS is amazing. If you have any interest at all in file system design, seriously, grab yourself the free BSD handbook. It's free. It's online. It's a PDF, or you can read it on the web. Go check out ZFS. It is amazing, and it is the last file system I will ever need.
Well, we talk about this. I want to buy a Plex, not a Plex server. I want to buy it. I need to upgrade my FreeNAS box. It's been going for a few years now, probably 4 or 5 years at this point. And I want the new version and I want all this stuff, but you need 16 gigs of RAM to run it because it is RAM heavy. And the FreeNAS people put out a box, but it's $1,000. And I keep on going back. Do I need this, or should I get a Synology for $300 or $400? And when it's all said and done, I really want ZFS. I really want Plex streaming, because the others will store it. You still need the server on it, so you're still running it on another computer. And you know what? The redundancy and just the ease of use of ZFS, or not the ease of use, but the comfort that you get is much better with ZFS.
So I'm going to bring it up because we have to bring up the political conversation sometime. Okay. The reason this happened is because the NSA built a zero-day exploit for Windows. And instead of disclosing it to Microsoft, where Microsoft, patched it out and made, not only the citizens in the United States government and, our infrastructure, but they would make the rest of the world more secure. Instead of the NSA, taking the high ground, they took their 0 day and they put it in a toolbox, and some person decided to leak this stuff all over the internet. The only reason WannaCry happened, and the only reason it's as big as it is, because ransomware is big, right? Ransomware makes a ton of money every year. But the reason this was so viral and so potent is because it had a 0 day. And the only reason it had a 0 day is because the NSA did the morally wrong thing, and they held on to an exploit instead of trying to get it fixed. I have an issue with that. I understand. I get the want behind it. But you also go back to Apple's fight with the FBI, where the FBI says, oh, no, it's just for this one thing, we promise, and no, it would never fall into the wrong hands. Well, guess what? We keep saying this over and over and over again. This stuff always falls into the wrong hands, right? It might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, but eventually it does happen, and people will get hurt. Right now, there are hospitals in various places around the world where they can't do stuff. They can't do their job. They can't go out and give people the right medications because all the files are locked up, because they don't have patient records to rely on, because everything's on a computer right now. The NSA, by holding this, and I am totally not advocating against research, right? People need to create 0 days. People need to hack stuff. They need to blast more holes in the SMB protocol. That's awesome work. But when you find a hole, you report it, you get it fixed, and you do so responsibly. That's what we need to do. Holding this, putting it in a toolbox will only hurt us all.
And, well, look, I go back to the shadow brokers who hacked the NSA took this stuff. And yes, once it was taken, did the NSA disclose it once it was taken?
That I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look at the time.
But again, they didn't responsibly disclose it, but they kept it. But even if they said it then, it's still too late, because Microsoft did patch it, but it still hurt a lot of people. And like you said, we know what they're doing with it, but they need to go back. And look, these hospitals in London, even if they were on a 1 hour backup, which I think is the standard practice, 1 hour backups, that's an hour's worth of data that they lost of all their patients, plus the time to get it back.
And it's not even the data lost, right? Because the data lost is annoying, or paying the ransom is expensive. It's not that. It's no matter what you do in that situation, whether you pay for it and have the files decrypted, or you go to tape and you restore from backup, it's the time, right? Not only did a sea of admins go out and work their butts off for a week or more to get this stuff cleaned up. The hospital was running at not peak efficiency. All these places were severely impacted because guess what? Someone has to take your computer. They have to restore your files. There's a whole lot of productivity and revenue lost because you're taking time away from your standard business functions, and you're putting it towards firefighting, right? You can't adequately run a factory when it's on fire. And I'm going to keep saying it. The NSA is to blame for this. And
let's go back to, they said that they're saying, oh, we won't leak these encryption keys. But guess what? They lost this. The TSA lost their master 7 keys to open all the luggage.
In the stupidest way ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you watch the news lately, we have somebody's phone number, high-ranking member took a picture with the phone number. We have Steve Bannon's playbook in the background. So clearly, we have United's cockpit codes for all of the aircraft. Which, by the way, you can't change on a dime. It's not like changing a password. Someone has to go out and physically touch every single one of those keypads to change them. So again, it's nobody means to leak this stuff, or maybe they do, but it gets out, and we have to, and this is why we can't just have this going. We could just give it to us because we promise we won't do anything there. The idea of golden handcuffs or separate keys, or we're going to break this key into separate pieces and a bunch of different people are going to manage it, and you have to get the queen herself and the president and some random guy in Wisconsin to all agree to unlock everyone's cell phones. That doesn't work,
right? Backdoors don't work. Golden keys don't work. This stuff keeps leaking, and we keep seeing over and over and over again. If you have backdoors in this stuff, it will get used, it will get abused, and innocent people will suffer.
And I mean, again, not to get political, but you're going to hear this probably next Tuesday, so we'll know a lot more. But if you believe this Washington Post article, the president is taking what a foreign ally said. This is higher than top secret. Don't do it. Don't say it. And he says it, and now he's backtracking again. We'll know more when this comes out. But there you go. Somebody told somebody else, and when you do that, it's always going to get out.
Yeah, I don't want to go, I feel like we've been really ranty on this podcast. But the thing you need to take away as an average person, you're just sitting there, you're with your computer, is go run your updates right now. Make sure you've got some backups. Either fire up, Carbonite, Mosey, CrashPlan, one of those guys. One of the big cloud backup things, or at the very least, go to iCloud or Google Drive and throw at least your important documents, right? The pictures you can't afford to lose. Put them somewhere else that's online that's not going to get encrypted or deleted. Take a backup. Install Chrome. Make sure it's updated. And uBlock Origin for blocking ads, and it's general security hygiene. But there's some little stuff you can do that's not really that hard. But the most important thing is just keep your updates going. And yes, it's annoying, but restart your computer at least once a week.
And you know what? This is not and it sounds boring, and I've been seeing this all over Twitter, but that's all it is. It's update. Keep your updates. Keep a backup, and just practice common decency and common logic. Now, the one thing I will rail against is if you buy a Windows 7 disk right now, you want to put Windows 7 on a machine, the update software doesn't work from out of the box. Microsoft has been tweaking their Windows update mechanism for Windows 7 every few months. So when I updated my dad's computer over the weekend, he has a Windows 7 machine, it didn't work. And what you have to do is you have to go update by update until you figure out which one you need to install first, which is the Windows update, to make the others go. This is maddening. He wasn't updated, and I couldn't figure it out for 2 or 3 hours. And I said, you know what? Let me shut it down. Let me get a cup of coffee. And as soon as I shut it down, it said, oh, we're going to now install updates. So if you're on Windows 7 especially, don't think that because it says no updates, you're not updated. Try restart, shut down, run your updates, make sure that it's really not updated or has no updates left, because you'd be surprised how many people think that when they're on Windows 7 they have updates and they're not really there.
Yeah, it's a really annoying problem. If you don't need Windows 7, go ahead and buy Windows 10. It's not that expensive for a home premium or professional license, simply because the updates won't take you the better part of a week. Because if you get like a first-gen Windows 7 disk, they will take the better part of a week, and that's not an exaggeration.
Well, it's going to take 2 days to realize that the Windows update system doesn't work. So you're going to spend 3 hours. You're going to go to lunch, and you're going to come back and say all 100 updates are not available or didn't work. And it's really that one of those broke, but you don't know which one it is. So now you're searching on the internet, you're spending the rest of your day. And then when you think you find it, you set it up overnight and it fails again and again and again. So you're not up to, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but it's just maddening. And we tell you that Windows 10 is not private and everything else. But again, what's your threat model?
It is so much easier to get updates. It is so, you're going to get updates whether you want them or not. You can beg for Windows to not update you, but it will, because it doesn't care what you think. Right?
And if you're wearing
Cortana, you can tell it you don't want ads in your operating system, and Microsoft doesn't care. Right? Windows 10 isn't perfect, but it's sure a lot easier to update.
I mean, look, if you're at that level and your threat model's there, I mean, maybe go a different route. You don't need Windows 10. You can go get a Mac. You don't need Windows. You can go BSD. You can do all these things. You can get Kali Linux or Arch Linux or Tails. But if you want something that will work and you have to give up a little bit of what diagnostics, as Microsoft calls it, it will update. It will keep you way safer than anything else.
I've got one more thing to mention, because thanks to WannaCry, I keep seeing this from a lot of different people that have emailed me, messaged me, and just generally asked me. There are tons and tons of these little pop-up websites and companies trying to sell you the cure for ransomware, and we can stop all ransomware and all this stuff. Don't buy the snake oil. Don't buy the hype. What some of these guys do is they enable volume shadow copy. Good ransomware turns off volume shadow copy and removes the backups. Some of them will try some weird sneaky backup thing that's going to get encrypted anyway. It's all snake oil. There's some little clever stuff in there, but it's not going to last, and it's certainly not worth the price of admission. If you're looking for Windows antivirus, for point-in-time scanning, I've used Malwarebytes in the past. It works fine. Don't pay for it. Use the free one that they have. And Windows Defender. And that's really all you need. But yeah, don't buy the snake oil. It's not worth your money.
So anyway, we'll just leave everyone with, we have a WhatsApp group. We will be rolling out a new logo hopefully by next week.
Hopefully.
So we'll actually have a logo that we can start promoting and everything else. But we do have a WhatsApp group. Tweet at us, because if you heard us stutter a few times, somebody was spamming us in there.
General PSA, if you try to spam links to your Bitcoin sale website, I will ban you as hard and as fast as I can.
So we're still...
And I will love every moment of it.
So, I mean, this person, whoever it was, must have stayed in there for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah. I look because I was like, did we recently had someone? No, they were there for a while. I don't know if their account got compromised or what, but if it did, they'll ask to get back in if they spam us again.
Just be ready to answer a really, really simple question like who you are, because we don't know who you are. We don't really care who you are. We just don't want you spamming us. And the people
you just say, I'm Bill. I like computers somewhat, and I listened to your show once. Okay, cool, Bill. Welcome to the group.
So yeah, and don't spam us. So if you heard us stutter through the show, we were just like looking like what's going on? How did this happen? Anyway, we're over time, so we will see everyone next week.
See you, everyone.
Bye. Stop and